I quit. I'm not your employee anymore. Now can I take you to dinner? My assistant asked. I stared at Tristan, my pen frozen halfway to the paper. He was standing in my office, calm as anything, like he hadn't just detonated a bomb in the middle of my Friday afternoon. What? The word came out barely above a whisper. Have dinner with me, please. His eyes begged. My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the desk to make them stop. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't happening. Tristan became my assistant 3 years ago. We always stayed late at the office, working on presentations that had to be perfect. But there were other moments, dangerous moments. 6 months in, we'd stayed late working on a pitch. It was past midnight when I finally closed my laptop and looked up to find him watching me with an expression that twisted my stomach into knots. What? I'd asked. He'd stood up, walked around the desk, and stopped right in front of my chair. For 10 seconds, we just stared at each other, both of us barely breathing. His hand moved like he was going to touch my face. I could see him fighting with himself. Then he'd stepped back and said, "Nothing, I'll see you Monday," and left. After that, everything felt different, heavier. 8 months later, we were at a client dinner. He had to reach past me to grab his coat, and his hand had landed on my waist to steady himself. We both froze. His hand stayed there for 3 seconds too long, his breath against my neck, before he pulled away and apologized. I'd said it was fine, but my voice shook when I said it. The conference in Boston a year ago, where we had rooms next to each other. We'd been having drinks in the hotel bar going over notes when he'd said, "I need to tell you something," and I'd said, "Don't," because I knew. God, I knew what he was going to say, and I knew I wouldn't be able to handle hearing it. He'd looked at me with so much hurt in his eyes and said, "How long are we going to do this?" And I'd whispered, "As long as we have to," and went up to my room alone. The worst was 4 months ago. We'd had a brutal week, everything going wrong at once. Friday night, everyone else had left and we were still there. I'd made a joke about living at the office and he'd laughed, but then his face had changed. "Can I ask you something?" he'd said. "No," I responded immediately. "Please," he'd said, his voice breaking. "Just once. Tell me I'm not imagining this." I'd stood up from my desk, walked over to where he was sitting, and I'd almost done it. Almost reached out, almost touched him. We were inches apart and every cell in my body was screaming at me to close the distance. His eyes had dropped to my lips. "You're not imagining it," I whispered, "but that doesn't change anything." He'd closed his eyes like I'd hit him. "It changes everything," he'd said. "No," I'd said, stepping back. "It can't." After that night, things got harder. The silences longer, the looks more desperate. There were days when I'd catch him staring at me across the office, and I'd see everything he wasn't saying written on his face. Days when I wanted to walk into his office, close the door, and stop pretending. But I was his boss. There were rules, policies, professional boundaries that existed for good reasons. So we swallowed it down every single day and pretended. We suffered in silence, wanting each other, but unable to have each other because of that invisible line between us. Every day was torture. Every conversation felt loaded. Every accidental touch felt like fire. We were drowning in want and restraint, and the constant ache of having someone right there but completely untouchable. And now he was standing in my office, looking at me like he'd just set something on fire and was waiting to see if I'd burn with him. "Wait," I said, standing up too fast. "You're quitting? You're actually quitting?" "Already done," he said, "effective immediately. You worked so hard. 3 years. You're throwing away your career." "I'm not throwing it away." "Yes, you are." "For what?" "For you," he said. "I'm doing this for you." "What if I say no? What if this ruins everything?" "Then it ruins everything." He took a step closer, but I couldn't spend another day pretending. "I've been in love with you for 2 years. 2 years," I whispered, knowing it was the same for me. 2 years of almost telling you. 2 years of almost touching you. 2 years of knowing you felt this too and not being able to do something about it. The boundary was the only thing stopping us, he said. So I removed it. "I'm not your employee anymore. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel this. You know I do." He was right in front of me now. "Say something. Do something." I closed the distance and kissed him. 3 years of want finally breaking through. His arms came around me immediately, pulling me against him. And for the first time in 3 years, I let myself have what I'd been denying. When I pulled back, I kept my hands on his chest. I thought I'd never get to do that. He was breathing hard. 8 o'clock tonight. Anywhere you want. You pick. I made reservations 3 weeks ago. I laughed, tears in my eyes. "You were that sure?" "No," he said. "I was that desperate."